Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Young Gruff and I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On episode 174, I have already done this intro because my hard drive corrupted, and I will let you know when we are doing everything for the first time. Yeah. Dune 2 embargo dropped, so yay! And what else did I say? Movies are made with a lot of money.
Exactly.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about Borderlands, which basically ties into, I guess, reshooting stuff for a movie, which is what we're doing for this podcast, having to do right now.
Reshoots, baby.
I watched the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, a new film with Anthony Hopkins, and Lachlan and I both binge-watched the new live-action Netflix show, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Finally, The Zone of Interest has released, and I've been wanting to rewatch it for months now. We originally watched it in Cannes, and now we get the opportunity to rewatch it. Does it hold up? That's the real question. We've already reviewed it months ago, and we're going to do it again with a fresh coat of paint for the... Actually, we never got up to the review in the original recording. So, yeah. Our original thoughts.
Exactly. Let's cue up the intro and get into the show. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit...
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dune Cam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
So we talked about all of this before. So I feel like the news, if it feels a bit abbreviated, it's just because we don't want to have the same conversation twice. But there's two trailers that we're gonna talk about. They both start with a B. First up, we got Borderlands by Eli Roth. Been done for 3 years. Had reshoots, another director coming in. And I'm familiar with the games for once. I've played like one of them for maybe like 15 hours. Lachlan, you're closer to the games. You liked them quite a bit. Comes out on August 9th. Do you think this is going to work, or is there something off about it?
I'm concerned there is a lot off about it. I don't like the people who are in there. I don't like Kate Blanchett playing Lilith. I just feel everything. There's just something that doesn't feel right about the film. Just in the way that it has been constructed, the way how it's taken so long to come out. I feel like it's just going to be one of those disaster movies, and it makes me think, how does a movie like Batgirl get cancelled? How does a movie like, what was the Coyote one? Roadrunner Coyote, was it? Yeah. The Acme, yep. And what was the other one that we talked about?
Scoop.
Oh god, it's all going to come to my head. Scoop. How do those movies completed and then done, and then they get scrapped, and then a movie like this comes out? So there has to be something. It can't be bad, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be good. So yeah.
I feel like the counterpoint always is Madam Web has been released. So yeah. Oh, Morbius. So I don't know. There was also another trailer for Boy Kills World. This one's out on April 26th, and Lachlan, you described that in the previous scrapped recording. That it gives you a bit of Scott Pilgrim vibes. It stars Bill Skarsgård as someone deaf and mute on a revenge trail. And you were keen for this? Or not? Yeah,
in the original recording, I did say that no one kill me that I'm comparing it to Scott Pilgrim, because it's not like it is the same level as Scott Pilgrim, but I was getting those vibes from it, not an actual like, this is like Scott Pilgrim. So got to preface that.
Maybe Michael Cera disconnected your hard drive because he wasn't happy about you saying that. So you got to watch out.
But I use his moisturizer, which is even more annoying.
Yeah, it was funny ad. That was a pretty funny ad.
But no, I'm in the same mood because of my hard drive crashing. I would love to kill the world right now because, that was. 25 minutes of recording that we were like in the right vibe for, and then all of a sudden my computer's like flashing on both of my monitors, like disconnected hard drive and like cannot like read, and I'm like, ugh. So yep.
You know, Lachlan, what about 30 minutes of waiting and wasting time? How about 11 months that we have to wait for the next film from Bong Joon-ho that had a release date set pretty early, got delayed indefinitely. Now it's coming out on January 21st of 2025, because apparently two execs that were quoted in a Variety article said that they seem to be less pumped about the $150 million sci-fi thriller starring Robert Pattinson from the Oscar-winning Bong Joon-ho of Parasite. So yeah, we're mad at Warner Brothers. We were already mad in the last recording. We're still mad,
at Warner Brothers.
We might even be a bit more mad at Warner Brothers right now than we were before, which is, I feel like, justified. And yeah, they suck. They're annoying.
Well, we're not going to be as mad as Warner Brothers at Christopher Nolan making one of the most successful movies of last year with Universal. But, I mean, we are pretty mad at Warner Brothers.
Which, there was a report by Variety that went over some of the budgets that they recently had. Joker 2 is reportedly costing around $200 million, where about $20 million goes to Joaquin Phoenix. Also a hefty sum, a bit less than that, is going to Lady Gaga. Probably Todd Phillips is getting a fair share. But it seems to be just one that is, I think the first one was done for like 70 million or 90 million, if I'm not mistaken. Which is already like...
Yeah, it was low.
Still, yeah, it's still a ton of money though, but I get where the money is going. This. But like comparatively, it's a musical. That's also another big swing that they're probably not like advertised for. At least that's kind of been the case in the last 2 years when it comes to musicals. And you got like Wonka, which just crossed 600 million. But you also got The Color Purple that flopped. You got In the Heights, that was still in the time of, also by Warner Brothers, the day and date releases. They also have a PTA film, Paul Thomas Anderson, that's budgeted around 115 million. Again, Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho gets 150. It seems to be they're spending a ton, and it's like, why are you then like cutting back on those less than $100 million? Why are you writing them off and taking the tax write-offs that you can get? It seems to be they are kind of slimming down to present, or like bulking up, I guess, in a sense. I don't know, whatever you prefer the analogy to go, to a date in April when they are back open for the market to sell merch, or I guess buy, because they've had the merger between Discovery and them, which put them into a window where they weren't able to do any of that for a while. And now they're kind of back on the market on the execs, swiping left and right on what seems to be their next movie slate. Is this one getting dumped? Yes, it's going on to streaming, and we're gonna write it off. I'm still mad at Warner Brothers. Can't contain it. But yeah, that's basically what's happening. A lot of stuff. It's a very good article. I'll link it below as well, by Variety. Basically goes over all the stuff that you gotta know about Warner Bros. Right now, and there's not really anything positive. Yeah, they're even like trying to get in as many people and get them attached to the company so they look the best and presentable, even if they're not actually like doing that well, at least from how they budget their movies and how much they profit from the box office, apart from, I guess, some successes like Barbie, which is basically, you know, making it seem like they're doing okay when everything else is kind of in the gutter. Speaking of Warner Bros., Dune 2 is out. Not out yet, but the embargo's out, and they seem to be universally positive, basically praising it as one of the best sci-fi films ever. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it next week. I'm incredibly keen to dive into it. Neither of us have seen it yet, but we already plan to see it, I think, twice. Once in just like as soon as possible on whatever screen, and our second screening, Lachlan, is gonna be hopefully on an IMAX, right?
Hope so. Fingers crossed. If I can fly over east and get a screening for it, I will. I'm currently reading through the Metacritic reviews, and I can say I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I also bought the audiobook this week, and it's 21 hours long, I think, in total. I'm trying to maybe make that fit in somewhere, because I've heard that like there's a lot of stuff that is like quickly addressed, and a lot of the stuff from the book is like you can't do all of it, but there seems to be like hints to stuff everywhere, apparently. So I don't know if I want to freshen up on I guess the lore and the story of Dune in novel form, but we'll see if I have the time. A couple of other news items. First up, we get a release date for the 4th season of The Boys that comes out on Amazon Prime on June 13th. Sam Mendes is directing 4 different Beatles movies about all of the I guess different members of the band. And I think this like set to I don't know how far along this project is, but it seems to be like groundbreaking in a way, because it's from different perspectives about all of these 4 different people. I'm sick of auteur filmmakers taking the time to do musical biopics, even if they really like the artists, because they still somehow feel incredibly repetitive and redundant. Lachlan, I feel like
which is why you hate Joker 2.
Yeah, it's why do I hate it?
Because it's an auteur making a musical about an artist. The joke.
Fair.
Never mind. Joke in the original recording was a Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the Beatles Cinematic Universe, much funnier. But different timeline, so here we are.
Kang deleted it. It died along with Jonathan Majors in...
Kang got deleted.
Oh my god. Gareth Edwards is basically, I think they got him. I wrote down he's eyed to direct the next Jurassic World, but I feel like they got him locked down. But who knows? Who knows with how quickly directors jump from project to project or are disconnected. But Gareth Edwards had the creator last year that was promising. He's also familiar with the studio system, with what he made with Star Wars, Rogue One, at least parts of that. And yeah, I'm keen. I feel like he's an exciting filmmaker, hopefully with enough say to make his own story. Although, again, Jurassic World, that's Warner Brothers again, right? Speaking of Warner Brothers still, there's just a ton of Warner Brothers stuff. Concept art for a Batman Beyond animated film was pitched about 5 months ago, but then turned down, and the creator has now gone to social media to post the images that he created, the concept art for it. It looks stunning, and yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a social media push of maybe putting some pressure on the execs to maybe get enough interest to greenlight it, similar to what Ryan Reynolds did with the Deadpool trailer that they released, the concept trailer, I guess, for that. Lachlan, we both agree, right? This looks stunning. Would be sick if it gets made.
Looks gorgeous. Yeah. Shame it's not. At least not right now, until they Deadpool it.
Yeah, at least not now. They had the initial plan with Michael Keaton to maybe do a live action Batman Beyond film, but then the Flash tanked, so they bombed. So they kind of scrapped that. I'm making my way through, or starting with, the Batman animated series at the moment. I watched a couple last night, and I'm intrigued. And Batman Beyond, I think it's all in the same universe. They got like 3 different series that take place in that, and there's also like I think a Justice League series, a Superman series, and so far they've been really good. And I always hear the praise of Batman Beyond, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't read anything of it yet. But I might get into it because it seems to be pretty fun. And then lastly, Sony is taking up Disney's physical media production because Disney is getting out of that business. And Sony is taking it up. It just kind of remains to be seen if Sony is going to push for like a lot of like 4K restorations and good stuff for physical media, or if they're just going to sell the Disney stuff, because I guess the Disney stuff kind of sells well, and Disney hasn't had like a huge focus on physical media for a bit after they've really gone all in with Disney Plus. As a physical media, a bit of a physical media collector, Lachlan.
A bit. How dare you? You didn't say this in the original recording.
Yeah.
Why don't you splice in what we talked about in the original recording?
I forget what we talked about. Did we even talk about this? I feel like I just mentioned it.
No, but you didn't call me sorta physical media collect. Let me go get my 4Ks. And you get your 4Ks, and we'll see who's got more.
I don't think I have a single 4K.
Exactly.
I wasn't saying I am a physical media collector. I got a ton of DVDs that I have from yard sales that I get just because I feel like, hey, it's fun to have them, but I would never watch it on that media because it looks shit. But I got nothing. You got me there. But hey, leave a rating on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and if you want to support us indirectly, and hopefully Lachlan can get some new cables for his hard drives. Then if you plan to see a film, we will be in the future and retroactively on some of the episodes that have already come out, on some of our reviews. If you check the description, we'll have a link that links you to some of the films that we mentioned that are out on streaming. So you can go through that, rent the film, buy the film if you plan to see it on Amazon, and can kind of support us indirectly with Amazon, the affiliate program. It doesn't cost you anything other than, I guess, renting the film if you want to see something anyways. We really appreciate it. Gives us a bit of a kickback, and yeah, makes it affordable for Lachlan to get more of the 4Ks, because that's clearly the priority, not the thousands of bucks that we spent to attend French film festivals. But I feel like Lachlan's still out there getting his 4Ks. It's like an archaeologist digging up through the dust all of the ton of 4Ks that he has. Yeah? Hey, enough said. I feel like he's a serious collector. He's got Morbius. Well, that's it for the news. Lachlan, discussion time this week. We'll keep it brief, because this is where we died last year. Just
at the end of the conversation, we still got to get through the whole conversation first.
Yes. Why are we still making World War II films and series? Why is this a time period that again and again is revisited, much like in the film that we're going to talk about today, maybe in a different form that it ever has been before, but it's still a familiar time period. Why do we keep going back to it, Lachlan?
You go first. I've got to get mine prepared.
All right, he's writing out his soliloquy. I think it is, in the case of The Zone of Interest, kind of telling still to the modern day some of the parallels of evil and its closeness. I feel like that's what that story in The Zone of Interest does. But universally, the easy target of an antagonist that we can all root against, that is established, that doesn't need to be introduced every time or needs like a motivation, because it's just the personification of evil, is really compelling in a thematic sense, because it's basically the struggle that our heroes can go on. And Lachlan, you brought this up in the last recording. I don't know if I'm taking up any of your points here, but you said that we as humans are just kind of so locked in on sadness and despair. We love to see it on the big screen and get emotionally invested. And it's I mean, you didn't say this, but I think it's kind of odd. Why do we go for that? And there's a ton of that in these World War settings. But World War II was such a shift for us humans and the way that we kill each other. When you look at the thousands of years before, when it was one-on-one, you could look in your enemy's eyes, or maybe not with the trench wars. There's still, you're shooting and you don't really know what you're hitting, but it just takes on a whole different dimension with World War II. And then there's just a lot of humanity that we speedrun of all of the trauma that we can endure and go through. I feel like there's always story to tell about this time period. And I feel like historically, it is very important to keep reliving and reminding us about these stories and about the people that persisted, the people that perished, and the people in control, and why stuff like that ended up happening. Like basically the echoes of time, which are not happy songs that we see echo, but it's usually this screaming and death and bombs going off and all of that depressing shit. So yeah, I feel like we're gonna keep making it because it never feels outdated. Even like 70, 80 years later, it still feels like it is just as relevant as it was back then to keep talking about World War I and II. Mainly II, I guess, at this point. But yeah, Lachlan, what do you have prepared?
All right, let's see if this works. Ta-da!
Oh my god.
Here I am.
Dunkirk.
Budget 100 million, gross 530 million. Oppenheimer, budget 100 million, gross 957 million worldwide. Ewan, give me a World War II movie. 1917, great one, Ewan, great one, good one. Schindler's List, I'll do that next. How's that? 1917, made off of a 95 million, grossed 384 million.
I can tell you hands off, Schindler's List made 337 million.
322.
I was off.
Off of a $22 million budget. The reason we keep making World War II movies is that they are profitable because people want to see them. Because each of those movies that I just shown you, Schindler's List, 1917, fuck it, let's do a good one. Inglourious Bastards. How's that? There's a good fun one for your World War II movie. What was this done? How much did this movie make? 321 million off of a $70 million budget. People want to see these movies. They are entertaining as all hell. They give you some really heroic stories. People know who the bad guys are. You don't even have to introduce the bad guys because they're always... What are they, Ewan?
Nazis.
And that's the thing. They are just easy. I wouldn't say they're easy movies to make, but you don't have to define who the bad guy is. You know who you're rooting for. Even in a film like The Zone of Interest, where the perspective is shifted, right? Mm-hmm. You still have a narrative where you have a human side that you connect to, even if the people you are viewing the film through are the typical bad people in a World War II movie, because they are Germans. But we'll get to that later. These movies are profitable. You know who the bad guys are without doing too much work. And most importantly, it's a story that people want to watch because they want to learn from our mistakes. We don't want to go through another world war. We can see the atrocities that are committed on the screen. We can't forget about them in that way. And that's the most important part.
That's why I feel like The Zone of Interest, not taking anything away yet from actual review, but that's why I feel like The Zone of Interest is so interesting, because it's less easily identifiable who we are rooting for. Obviously, you know who you're rooting for, but there's no one really to root for, because you're taking the side. You're only seeing the people who are doing the evil stuff, and also living their lives, but doing the evil stuff. And that kind of is such an interesting take on
evil.
how close you are to all of those atrocities, and it's just your proximity to it inherently also evil. Like, that's such an interesting question to ask that we don't really typically have to ask in World War II films, because we are rooting for one side to basically accomplish something, to save someone, to I don't know, for something good to happen and all of the bad. And The Zone of Interest is so different. That's why it's like so interesting to me. But before we get into that review, Lachlan, I think that's it for discussion time. Let us know what you think of World War II films. You brought up, hey, they make money. And there's also maybe something, with humanity on why we get to revisit it, but maybe in a lighter way, in like, hey, these 2.5 hour, we are in this war. We might cry because it's so sad, and then we move on with our lives. Something about that, like that cycle, that we as humans, as a culture, as society, kind of tend to gravitate towards. But that's it for discussion time. Like, let's have a look at what we've been watching this week.
This is as far as we got in the first recording. Yay!
Yes. Oh, we made it.
This is all brand new content. Never performed or rehearsed before.
Wait, Lachlan, I think you missed the line there. You were meant to praise me that I'm doing great. That's your line for the podcast.
All right, sorry, hang on.
Wait, it says show the Morbius 4K again. What? I didn't write that. Thanks. All right, we're back on track. We also finished True Detective, Night Country. We watched Avatar. We'll get into that in a second. I feel like we can talk about the stuff that we both individually watched first. But we did watch both of that. If you're also interested in maybe some of our spoiler thoughts, we won't get into that here, because we do need a bit of time for The Zone of Interest. There will be separate reviews for that on the channel for those two shows, though. But Lachlan, you watched Blade Runner 2049, which is your favorite movie of all time. It's certainly close to be up there, right? Yeah,
it's one of them, because it cycles, but definitely is still great. I mean, did you see how many stars I gave it?
I didn't, but I assume 5.
5 stars, yeah. It's a great film. At least I've logged it on Letterboxd at least 3 times since getting Letterboxd, and I've definitely watched it more times since then. Like, I watched it 3 times when it came out in cinemas, minimum. I've seen this movie a ton of times. Every time I watch it, I love it. It's a fantastic film. We're watching it for the Villeneuve bracket that we're going to be doing, and I had to watch it. Not because I had to just rewatch it, but just because it would be sacrilegious of me to do a Villeneuve bracket and not rewatch the one that I love the most, that I'll be rooting for. But will I? Ooh.
I don't know. Ooh. Keep up the mystery. You'll have to check out the video.
But other than that, it's all TV shows. And here's a question I'd like to ask the general audience, if someone could respond to me. Neon Genesis. Is it worth watching?
Good question. I think I've seen like 3 episodes of it. I haven't gotten further into it, but I my opinion is I want to get to it, so I feel like it's worth watching. But he asked the general in the audience, so if we got any military people there, hopefully you're not the lowest rank, so you can respond to Lachlan. But hey, we got a diverse set of listeners, so one of you is bound to be a general. I watched Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, 3. Such a dumb joke. I watched Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, and 3. I've only seen the first one, so I'm getting ready for the fourth one. I used to hate these when I was a kid because I was a sophisticated kid. I was only eating caviar, olives, and I don't know. I don't have an analogy to something made up. Like I can't make something up. But no, I didn't like animation as much when it wasn't Disney or Pixar for some reason. But this first Kung Fu Panda film is kind of fun. The second one is still kind of decent. The third one loses me a bit, but they're all like. They're fine. None of them are actually like horrible. They're not on the level of Illumination. A pretty fun franchise, and yeah, I'm ready for the fourth one now. Then I had a double whammy. I'm not gonna choose it as a double feature pick, but I did rewatch The Zone of Interest last night, and then immediately afterwards saw One Live with Anthony Hopkins, also about World War II, and it got me so sad. It drained me so much that I afterwards had to like just sit on a couch, watch a bit of Batman the animated series, and just pass out and fall asleep. A lot of the critics or like the critical response for this film has been, people have seen it in a theater, everyone's crying, and they're like, okay, cool. That's all you had to say. And they're giving it like, I think Lachlan, you saw it as well, you gave it like a 2.5 out of 5. People are giving it like a 3 on average. Anthony Hopkins is great in it, as he always is, and the storytelling maybe is a bit lackluster. Maybe it was because I just watched The Zone of Interest, so I was giving this film a bit more leeway when it didn't have much to offer as a film itself, and some of the storytelling that it does in Prague. This is about a real person who existed. There's also a clip of something infamous that happens in this scene that is online, that saved like hundreds of children from Prague right before the war broke loose. I was just, for the last 20 minutes, I was just bawling my eyes out. And I couldn't stop. Like I was doing like the thing of whimpering, not just like silent tear, but I was like it really, I found it really powerful. But maybe that's just me who loves to cry at sad shit. But I found this kind of decent. I gave it like a 7 out of 10. And I feel like it's not like the worst double feature with The Zone of Interest, although it's not the one I'm gonna go with. Yeah, that's what I watched. I also watched Jennifer Lopez had a new album coming out, and I'm never gonna listen to that. She had like some kind of weird film project that was tied to it, which had the same title as the album. I think This Is Me ... now. I hated it. It was so self-indulgent. It was so narcissistic. I hated it quite a bit. But that's out on Prime Video. But yeah, that's the stuff I watched. Neither of us have both seen, and or I guess you've seen One Live as well, but really don't watch the Jennifer Lopez one.
Cool. I'll unremove it from my watch list.
Yeah, you totally had it on there. Already listened to the new album front to back like 5 times. I know you, Lachlan. When J-Lo is out there, you get, he goes crazy. Avatar: The Last Airbender. We've seen M. Night's movie. We've seen the original 3 seasons of the show, and we've also both seen the sequel series Korra. How does this one stack up to, I guess, the other live action version that we've gotten? That's a low bar to clear, but maybe to the series as a whole.
If down here is the live action and up here is the original animated TV show, I would say it lies in the middle between the two. I think that the show does start off a bit closer towards the live action movie and then slowly redeems itself over time.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, what season 1's got like 20 episodes in it, and they've got to condense that down into 8 episodes.
Which are like 50 minutes long, though.
They are longer, but you still have a lot of story to get through. Remember, with animation, you don't need that much to really get engaged with it.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but that's just the world of animation. It's just a different ballpark compared to live action. With live action, there is a set of rules and guidelines that we must have, and the first one you've got to get over is the unnatural
delivery
movement of bending elements. And I must say, at first,
really,
it's a bit stiff, but they end up figuring it out as they go along. I feel like it got better as it went along.
I feel like the fights were always a highlight for me. I think they kind of did that decently from what I expected them to do in live action. It's always stunning in the animation. It's incredible what they do with that.
So I have a problem.
Yeah.
The fights. I think
what's the problem with the
from
fights?
From a choreography level, they are really good. They are staged really well, blocked really well. I think the introduction of the elements in those fights are quite creative and fun. But I hate, and this is everything capitalized. I hate how much slow motion was used. It was like they got Zack Snyder's fucking cinematographer and was like, all right, slow-mo time, baby. Unnecessary use, or at least unnecessary amount of use of slow-mo. There are moments that do work, but the moments that don't make those other moments that do work lesser. And that's annoying. Save those slow-mo moments for a particular moment. You don't need it in every single fight scene. And it just slows down the action too much. And it doesn't make it feel like it's an actual fight. It feels like it's a dance. And yes, the bending in the anime is almost like a dance between the two benders. But in the live action, it's meant to be a fight. And that's the issue I have with the fight scenes. That is all. I'll move on now.
The other bigger issue it has to overcome, which is I'm back to my roots. I'm hating on kid performances. It doesn't work at all. Especially
you had kids.
I mean, the actor was like 13, 14 when he filmed this. It is horrible because they also rely on, for some reason, the show wants to be less quirky. It wants to have more serious moments because, like you said, in live action, there's just something different. We need to see characters cry constantly, and they don't really go there as much in the cartoon. There's moments like of profound sadness in there, but it's not just like always a single tear. And pretty much every character gets that at one point in this first season. And it's just like, you notice it at one point that some people are just like, I can see their emotions. And others are just like, they're doing weird stuff with their eyes. They're like twitching and they're like ADHD acting. They're like TikTok acting. And it's like, oh my God, this is really bad. And it's incredibly distracting. And it's for a couple different people where it doesn't work. For me, it took a while as well to get into the actor who does Zuko, because I thought he was off it for the first 4 episodes. Then he gets one of the best episodes. I think episode 5 or 6 is more dedicated to him. That was, to me, the best episode of this first season. Yeah, I hope they continue to do it well. I like most of the stuff that they set up, but I mean, they skipped pretty much like 7 episodes in like I think they jumped from episode 9 to like 16 or 17. I checked in because I was kind of comparing which storylines they do. And they combine some as well. They condense it down. I feel like the ending on the water in at the North Temple is always gonna be different. The way that they're gonna approach Zhao is each time they adapt it, it's just completely different. But yeah, overall, I think this is worthwhile. I don't think it's like as horrible as Death Note when they did that, or from what I've heard, I haven't seen it, the Cowboy Bebop adaptation. I don't think it's as successful as One Piece, because I haven't seen One Piece, but that seemed to nail something right for live action. I don't know if you're not a fan already. I'm really curious to hear from someone who hasn't seen the cartoon if this is going to work for them. Like, does it stand on its own 2 legs, or are they not going to be patient enough to go through the first couple of pretty rough episodes? Because when we talked about like covering this in separate review and on the show, I was pretty sure that Lachlan would say, "No, I got through 2 episodes, I quit. It wasn't good." Because he said if it's bad, you're not gonna watch it. and ended up sticking through all of the season. So there was something for fans of it, obviously, to stick around to see where it goes. But
so
it's all right.
Hang on, where are my notes? This is exactly what it was. You can kind of tell how engrossed I get with something when I take less and less notes. And for the first episode, I have a bunch of notes.
Yeah.
And then it goes down to nothing. But one thing that I said in episode 1 is I'm having secondhand emotion.
Yeah.
Now you might be thinking, what is secondhand emotion, Lachlan? Secondhand emotion is a term that I have used today to describe the emotion that I felt when watching the live action TV show, but remembering the original. You are correct. They do skip a lot of the filler-esque episodes, and they do skip things like the winter solstice stuff, and they kind of they get rid of like the Great Divide storyline. But they combine quite a bit in like episode 4, 5, and 6, and then dedicate episode 7 and 8 to sort of the last 2 episodes of like the Siege of the North.
Yeah.
The thing is, combining those does weaken the overall character development you get in those smaller episodes, which is why I said it's hard for them to condense, because yes, you don't have the Great Divide storyline in it, but the Great Divide has a really cool story and really cool conflict, and in my opinion, I think is also a really important storyline between Aang and Katara.
Yeah,
and Aang as well, yeah.
Big moment.
He definitely starts to like, he doesn't. It's a big test for him, right? And there are moments like that that are cut out, and there are moments that are in the live action that are shortened down. And the reason I stuck around was that I was just remembering all of these really good moments that are in the original show that I absolutely love and adore, and makes me want to go back and rewatch it. But the thing is, there was some really, really cool stuff done in the live action. And I think that there are elements that are done really... I think the Kyoshi Warriors looked spectacular. And I think that their fight choreography was spectacular. And I also think that the visual appearance of some of these characters will get better over time. I wish that there was more money thrown at it. I wish there was more money for the CGI to look better, because I must admit, at times I'm a bit iffy about the actual bending of elements and the look of them. I feel like it just feels too CGI. But the big sin that I can't get over, and I'm sitting hard on the you should watch this, you should not watch this fence, right?
Yeah.
Fuck Momo, he looked terrible.
His pierce is getting... He's getting pierced by a really, really spiky fence.
The amount of completely CGI shots with actors in them. There's the shot where I think it's in the first episode where Aang goes into the Avatar state and he looks completely CG, and it just took me out of it. And I was like, nah, fuck this, I don't want to watch it. In the last couple episodes, especially the last one, and it's not really a spoiler what happens in the last episode of like season 1, where he goes into the Avatar state, gets the ocean spirit in him. But there is a complete shot from, and I get it, you're gonna have to do that shot in CG, but there's humans that move in weird ways, and you can feel that weird movement, and you can see that throughout the series of how they've just, instead of getting an actual shot of an actor, they've completely digitized that performance into the shot instead. And that was one part that made me feel, okay, they're doing a live action, but they are going to do as much CGI as they possibly can without using some of these actors. And maybe it's because they are legitimately kids, and I get that, but there are also shots in there that didn't involve children that could have been done more practically. And that's the part that annoys me as someone who really enjoys practical effects being done, incorporating CGI to look better. And I get it, the world is not going to look like, you can't really get that photorealistic look, but you can definitely do better at making it more live action.
It also feels like, the vastness of space. It always feels like they're in a really small set. In whatever scene they're in, it's always pretty contained. I feel like it fails as apart from the establishing shots to then further in the scenes feel like they're also still in that place. Omashu is like a place that is obviously like very iconic, and in the wider shots when it's introduced, I feel like it works quite well. But when it has them interact with like the larger thing of it all, there's like one scene towards the end of that Omashu episode where it's just like it took me out of it as well when they're like riding in the carts, and it's like, oh my god, it's so CGI.
But there's also so many of those throwbacks to the original show where there really isn't any setup of Aang and Boomy having rides in those earth carts throughout the city.
Yeah.
It just pops up at the end. And it's the same with like the cabbages guy. I thought at the start, like him not saying my cabbages was quite funny. And then eventually he says, oh, my cabbages. I was like, all right, cool. That's a really funny callback. But then to have moments like that just kind of come out of nowhere, it doesn't add humor. It just is a weird thing right at the end that pulls me out of it. And it makes me feel like they're trying to just capitalize on the nostalgia factor, which they are, in a sense. They are going to be capitalizing on that. But I do feel like those episodes that do capitalize on nostalgia were also the weakest as well.
Oh, the whole of Sokka's arc isn't really... He just gets the falling in love part. He doesn't really get the much of... It's more about him feeling insignificant. It's less that he also undergoes a similar arc to the guy at the end in the north when he's against the women bending and defending them. That's pretty much on the same path that like Sokka is on early in the show, and they kind of cut that out. Like the show opens with him being like Katara saying he's sexist in like the third line of the show, and they completely cut around that. That's not a part of it. It's always about like him feeling inadequate. And I feel like that would have been an interesting part for him to focus on, because when I watched the trailers, I was like, ooh, this actor doesn't work. He's really bad. He had like a bad line reading in the trailer, and it got me concerned. Of the core three, I think the Sokka actor is by far the best one. I hope I get more with this character, because he kind of does decent enough with the timing of the jokes and like how he says it. Maybe just in comparison on how off it is with Katara and Aang. I think that closes. I'm about to close our review because I feel like it should open with me hating on kids and it should end with me hating on kids. So it's a big old hating kids sandwich. But yeah, I guess we'll have a separate review up when maybe we talk even more specifically about stuff. We'll see what we end up doing. But hey, should already be out by the time you're seeing this. And then True Detective Night Country. I've only seen the first season, which has gotten universal praise. Lachlan, I think you've seen all three, or I guess all four of them now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Where does it stack up? Is it worthwhile? It's a shorter season as well than the others. Is it up to the same quality that these other three were, or that season one was?
I think that the quality is better than season. Well, okay, actually no. Before I say that, each season has its pros and cons. I think that the initial idea of True Detective, the way that the story goes, season 4 is probably the most authentic to the idea of it, but it references too much to the first season for it to kind of be like, oh, it's doing its own thing. I felt like this was originally its own like mini series and then had the True Detective side thrown onto it, which kind of sucks. It's a bit like the I guess the oh my god, because we're doing 2 recordings, all of my things are going in my head. Cloverfield. It's like the Cloverfield thing. They make a movie, they slap the Cloverfield name on top, right?
Yeah.
Kind of feels similar to the Zone of Interest. For fuck's sake. Kind of feels similar to True Detective.
Night Country.
And the fun part about this series is that it has this weird mystical side to it, and I love that. And I have to admit, the first 2 episodes do a fantastic job of getting me hooked into that. And the rest of the season is the exact same, and nothing happens. And that is the most boring part. It's unfortunate that it doesn't really do much for me. As I said, the first 2 episodes were, in my opinion, fantastic, but I don't really want to recommend it to people who like the first season anymore. I kind of just want to be like, yep, don't consider it True Detective, just consider it a separate thing. I think that the finale really done goofed. I think that the first 2 episodes were fantastic, and then it was pretty much just a steady decline, down, and down into that last episode, which just, I'm not happy with it.
It was really underwhelming, and like I decided giving it the benefit of the doubt, because like some characters are a bit odd, maybe even some line reading, some of the dialogue is like, it feels a bit off, but it feels like, okay, maybe that's just like part of the aesthetic that we're going for. Everything is like slightly off and everyone's kind of rude, but it just kind of fails to build to something more when it stagnates, and it's really disappointing because I agree. I think the setup is pretty intriguing. The setting is cool with the constantly everything being dark. The whole intrigue of actually finding out what happened kind of is underwhelming. Which if you have strong enough characters, then that works. I wasn't really that involved with the main 2. I was more involved with like the cop kid. I feel like his storyline was really fun, and I wish we had gotten even more of his part. But I also can't really recommend it for True Detective fans. But hey, I've only seen the first season as well. That's all the stuff that we've been watching this week. So let's talk about Jonathan Glazer's The Zone of Interest.
The commandant of Auschwitz, Rudolf Hoss, and his wife Hedwig strive to build a dream life for their family in a house and garden next to the camp.
How lovely, how wholesome this whole ordeal is.
That logline.
A family movie for the whole family. Jonathan Glazer makes a movie about every 10 years or so. His last one being Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson. Now he's back in a collaboration with A24, and a budget of $15 million. I assume a lot of that stuff went into the actual sets. That's really a highlight of the film, its production design. It comes in at a runtime of 105 minutes, which I gotta say fly by. When I rewatched this film and the movie ends, I was like, hold up, there's a whole other hour, right? Nothing really happened. Why does it fly by so fast? This is eerie. I don't know where the time went, but people loved it, especially critics. On Metacritic, it's got the highest score of the 3 with 92. On Letterboxd, it's a 4, and on IMDb, a 7.8. I'm a bit surprised that it's not higher on Letterboxd, because I could definitely see this be like a huge favorite for them. But it is a special film. It is not something that you'd expect from a war film. It takes a completely different perspective from the side of evil that we usually don't get to see. But we see evil in its most banal form, where it's the simplest, just on family life and the struggles of that. But we are not really shown what goes on inside the gates of Auschwitz, all of the terror. We are asked to fill that in with our imagination and with the historical background that all of us are familiar with, and the shots and screams of despair that are in the constant background of this film, a low hum that never goes quiet. This film has such a unique aesthetic, and when we watched it in Cannes for the first time, Lachlan, you came out of it and straight up gave it 5 stars. I was pretty close there with you, not all the way up there, because I don't like giving 5 stars to a movie right as you got out of it. And yeah, you don't, but there was something special about this one. We're also really happy that it got a bunch of praise that we didn't expect from it at the Oscars. So it's going to highlight it for more people. It got in for international feature, for best picture, for adapted screenplay, direction, and score. I'm really happy about all of that. The score is not really present for much of the film, but there's like one integral scene where it's like one repeated thing over and over again, and it's so perfect for what it's going for. Lachlan, I feel like audiences that are going to listen to our review are not going to find a lot of us critiquing the film, mainly in its praise. And I hope you have a similar experience to it, although I had to find the right time to watch this one again, because it is a big downer when you're not ready for it. But at the moment, it is available on sale only for $19.99. So it's a bit steep. If oh yeah, sorry, I said score. I meant sound. Sound is what it's nominated for. Thank you for the correction, Lachlan. Which is also something that's praised for. I was a bit surprised for score. Doesn't really make a ton of sense because there's not really a score in there. But that was my own notes that I read wrong.
Unless you consider like the sorry, that's the sound.
Right back in there. But for those who want to save some money and maybe it's not playing in theaters and they don't want to pay $20 for it, because it is A24, in about 6 or 7 weeks it should be streaming on Max for no additional surcharge. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. But we are going to get into spoilers, but it's also a film that we can talk about the plot and what happens, but it's basically, I mean, it's a historic fact, and then we get a closer look at this family, but it's not really following a plot structure of this happens, that happens. It doesn't really build. It's just an atmosphere and a feeling you get from this whole film. But if you don't want to be spoiled, here's your last warning. We'll get into all of that. But yeah, Lachlan, why did you come out of this film in gun, giving it 5 stars, and now you've revisited it, and I doubt it's gone much different for that? Did you come out of the film still saying this is one of the best films of the year? It's an easy 5 star, or did anything change since you've last seen it?
Nothing has changed except my desire to rewatch the film.
Right.
For me, I really, really wanted to rewatch it. My top 3 films of last year were The Zone of Interest, La Chimera, and The Boy and the Heron. And those first 2 that I said, I haven't had the ability to rewatch it yet because I watched them and they haven't released yet. La Chimera is coming out very soon, and I'm very, very keen to rewatch that because La Chimera, I walked out of the cinema giving it 4.5 stars, and I feel like on the rewatch, I don't know if I'm going to want to give it more, less, or leave it the same. With The Zone of Interest, I would like to refer to my original Letterboxd review I wrote in Cannes. Auschwitz is the location of the world's most unforgivable crimes, where humanity lost itself. An area marked forever with the horrors of xenophobia, and a story that filmmakers continuously attempt to display on screen. Whilst Holocaust cinema isn't being worked into the ground like other genres, there hasn't been a breath of fresh air for a while. The Zone of Interest is that breath. That's the start of that review. The Zone of Interest is such a fantastically crafted film from a perspective that I was not expecting to enjoy watching and fall in love with characters watching that you don't want to fall in love with, in a sense. You want them to have this family being ripped apart, but they're also the cause of so much pain for so many other families. There's that juxtaposition of they cause pain for other families, but I don't want to see that family separated, and I don't want to see them ripped from their home. And it's weird. It's a bit like documentaries, like wildlife documentaries. If you have a lion and say a zebra, if you are shown the zebra first and a lion attacks it, you're going to be in the perspective of, oh, that poor zebra.
Yeah.
But if you're shown the lion first hunting the zebra, you're going to be in favor of the lion. It's all about a matter of perspective and how it's presented to you and the situation that it's in, right? Hungry lion. They're both hungry, but one is, it's a starving lion, oh no, we need to get it to survive. The other one is that it's hungry, it wants food as a predator. Same thing here. It's a family, but it's a family that causes pain, and you don't want to see it have that pain because you're presented that family. You don't want to see it go through that pain. And how can you know? Like, how do you know that these people are fundamentally evil when there is a great big wall stopping them from seeing what's happening on the other side? Yes, the evil has entered their household, but how do you define that family is evil, right? It's such an interesting story, but yeah. I'll stop ranting, Ewan. You can talk about your thoughts really quickly.
don't share that same sympathy for that family. I feel like I wasn't rooting for her. I think Hedwig is a really despicable character. She's the worst, and I really hated her. I didn't really have much sympathy for her, wanting for her to stay at this place, because it seemed to be so self-serving in a way that I understand it from a human standpoint. If you got something going for you, why would you not wanna be there? But the thought of not being disturbed by how close you are to all of that death makes me like I can't not hate these characters. And I feel like there's a connection that you can have because you're taking their perspective, that you feel empathetic to some of their struggles. I didn't really, to be honest. This was not really what the part that worked so well for me. For me, it was that hatred towards them for all of the ways that they exploit the death of the people so close to them, without even acknowledging or having a hint of like, I don't know, despair or being disturbed by what they're doing. Like, there's a shot where one of the gardeners puts the ashes of dead people into the soil for them to grow their garden. And it's like, that's the whole film. That is the whole film. It's on the back of that, like, exploitation. Yeah, man. I don't know. To me, it's like hard to say this is this is the whole film, and the character arc, that these like the struggle that they go on staying there. It's less about like whatever the fuck they want. It's more staying in that atmosphere of a family living so close to Auschwitz, sharing a wall, and just staying in there for like 105 minutes, hearing all of that the whole time in the background, and the kind of emotion it evokes in you was what made this film to me so great. But it feels weird to call it great, but like, so in what it's going for, kind of nailing. Which, yeah, it's talking about this evil and how close we can be to something so bad happening, and us not being aware of it, us profiting off of it. So I feel like the modern lens that this film takes, being shot on digital lenses, on what felt like, I didn't check this, but it felt like it was shot not on a cinematic frame rate, like 24 or even 30. It felt like they were shooting it in 60 FPS. I don't know if you got that same feeling, but at least the opening shot seems to be like in a higher frame rate. And it really threw me off.
At the river?
Seeing it again. Yeah, I don't know, something about it just felt like
really?
It was... Yeah, it felt like such a snapshot of a modern, non-cinematic way of approaching shooting that scene. And in the whole film, the cameras are stationed in the house. They're not really moving. And it was also in the direction from Jonathan Glazer that they were basically not acknowledging the performances for singular cameras, giving them close-ups, but it was always just kind of a peek in from... It feels like you're surveying these people. In these moments, you're not really... It also takes that extra step to not give us that perspective as much. Like, we don't get... Like, I don't know, like a close-up scene of, what's Rudolf Höss going through as he's gets the call of, does he need to go or not? We are in the corner of the room, kind of listening in, only hearing what he says. It's all just kind of choices that add up to make this one, in my opinion, as close to a masterpiece as we're going to get in the 21st century. It's such a unique film, and yeah, it's perfect in every sort of way. I really adore the filmmaking behind it. But yeah, what do you think about the cinematography?
So the film was shot on a Sony Venice. So it's definitely shot on a
smaller
camera. So I don't think that thing can do very high frame rates, depending on the... What, was it... This movie's not shot 16:9, is it?
It is. This one is 16:9. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if it's shot 16:9, then the Sony Venice can do 16:9. Can do 60 frames per second. Okay, well, interesting. Because that thing has got like an 8K sensor on it. at full frame, but
Right.
you can kind of crop in to get to the smaller resolutions or the smaller frame rates or frame sizes.
From what I saw, I think it said they have 4K master, but they shot on 6K. This is getting really nerdy real fast.
Yeah, so it definitely can. So it can shoot 60 frames per second at 7.6K at full frame, 16:9. But at 8.1, you said they shot at 6K, yeah?
I think it said on IMDb that they have like at least they were shooting in 6K and having the master file down at 4, which is by the way really typical.
They can definitely shoot at that resolution on that camera with that.
It's just a feeling that I got.
I never got the high frame rate thing. I had the obviously like the. Did we not argue about the thermal camera at Venice Venice Cannes?
We did.
Yeah, well, it is shot on a thermal camera. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The FLIR X8500. Terrible name, but thermal camera shot on that. I think the cinematography is stunning. I love the locked off shot look. I love the fact that it's not us peering into their world. It is fundamentally us viewing it and they're going about their lives. There's no theatrics about that. There's no funny camera work being done. The camera is sat down on a tripod, on sticks. If you want to say sticks, you can say sticks. But for everyone who doesn't know what sticks are, tripod. You put the camera on sticks. What are you laughing at?
I don't know, the way that you said that was just really funny. Because like we've already gone so nerdy that now on the sticks you're getting like specific for people who couldn't catch up.
We'll go back into our full
tech breakdown,
film industry terminology.
Yeah.
Should we just start shouting corners every time we go around a corner with a tripod? Like,
what is it? Points or what is it called?
Points, no points.
I haven't been on the set for a while.
Anyway, so I love that look. I think that it's ballsy because camera work can engulf you in a film, but it can also ruin it. Great example, 1917. I don't think the one shot works for every scene in that. It's very interesting to keep you engaged, but it's not good for emotion. And you don't want people to be emotionally connected to these characters. Yes, my intro sounded like I was saying that I was emotionally connected to a family. I'm not. I'm cut off from them. I'm looking at it from a distance, but this film is a brilliant piece of just, do you want to know what juxtaposition is? Watch this movie, because it is perfect from narrative to characters to visual juxtaposition. This film is like perfect for that. And the best part about the cinematography is that you're not engaged with them. You're just viewing this world. You can't look around, right? You maybe there's like a little pan here and there, or like a little dolly move to get the characters moving down like the garden. But other than that, there's no sort of, up, down, left, right. Oops, we're not doing like some whiplash, like La La Land camera whips between characters during conversations. It's not like that. And sometimes they just sit on that angle for like a good minute and a half, 2 minutes, and you're just sitting there taking as much of it in as you can. And that takes a lot of guts to kind of keep things simple. So it's brilliant.
There's something about like the editing approach and the pacing of this as well. When you have separate cameras, you're never following someone with a steady cam or any sort of movement, apart from that. Like there's one dolly track that they set up when she brings the mother along to go into the garden for the first time, where we kind of do a Wes Anderson like dolly whip. And then it also later in that scene when they're out in summer and they're taking they just have a bunch of kids over. It seems to be maybe a birthday, and you get basically a 360, like all of the different perspectives of this house to really see its isolation. Like they're kind of zoned in as well. There's on the other side, there's the train tracks that kind of beautifully come in with like the smoke that comes up from a train coming in, and you sometimes feel yourself get lost in, hey, this is kind of not a horrible aesthetic, and then you're like thrown back into this is the worst place on earth. Why would you raise your family here? And even them not acknowledging and not even showing the mother leaving in the dead of the night because she's disturbed by being so close to like the constant sound or whatever, not giving her clear reason as well, it seems like there's no moral high ground given to that character, because like when they're out, they're like openly racist towards Jews as they like go into, like, it's not about that like this person is better because she doesn't want to stay there. It's just, it's so unappealing, and then that character still wanting to be there because she built something of her own life there, in a juxtaposition of a whole system that is ripping people's identity apart and discussing the efficiency of how you can burn and then dispose of someone. Like, it's such, those two things so close to each other. It's baffling. But it's not fiction. It's reality, and that part of it is so scary. And like when you wanted to revisit it, right? You saw it in Cannes. You were looking forward to going back to this. When I came out of it, I think we discussed this. I thought like I might not want to see this film ever again.
Ever again, yeah.
And
that's fair. No, that's fair. This film takes a lot out of you.
Yeah. I don't know, it just kind of it kind of rips you to shreds. I didn't have this experience the first time around, but the Polish girl who goes to distribute like apples for the workers at night with the thermal camera, we get her twice, and then on the second time we follow her home, and then it's, I think, the morning after, and she's just playing the piano. Like, something about that, I had a couple tears run down my face. It was just something about it. I don't know what it was, but it's just, overall this whole film is like a big emotion. And yeah, a kind of a thematic thing that you feel, and I was deeply moved by it. I think I will revisit it. I will urge people to go see it and then see it again, because it is one of the best films about war and just about humanity that we've ever gotten. And I can't wait to watch a new Jonathan Glazer film in 10 years. It's just, he's always got something fun up his sleeve. Fun maybe is the wrong word here, but something worthwhile, something compelling. It also got those Oscar nominations, Lachlan. Would you add something even to that, like another nomination where I feel like this movie excels in? Or, yeah, you happy with the 5 it's got?
Would I add? Ooh. No. I definitely think it's going to get Best International. I think that this film has sort of landed the spot for Best International Picture at the Oscars.
Being the only one who's in picture as well.
I don't think I could put it in cinematography. I think that there are... like Maestro and El Conde could definitely come out, and we could put Zone of Interest in there. I just don't think... Yeah, either... Like those two movies have moments in them that are like...
Isn't Killer in there as well?
They don't really have it... Killers of a Flower Moon is also in there, but I
would
think
also
Killers
take Killers.
Is really? I think Killers is fucking good.
Yeah, I think it's good. I don't think it's like the best of the year. I feel like there's
Wow.
I like the framing in May December better.
It's all coming out now.
Like,
it's all coming out now.
I like it in Past Lives. I like it more. I like, if you could call it, which you are fundamentally opposed to, I think it's better in Spider-Verse. Like, I don't know. I wasn't floored by the technical parts of Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, right. Okay, no worries then. Jesus.
Yeah, hating on it.
Because you hate
from my corner seat.
Martin Scorsese. You heard it here first, everybody. He hates Martin Scorsese.
It's in my top 10.
I think that it definitely deserves the adapted screenplay nom. I think that in there, it's not going to. Oh, could it?
I don't think it can.
I think up against Oppenheimer, it's probably cooked. And I think American Fiction's quite highly rated as well.
Yeah, and that just got the BAFTA over Oppenheimer for some reason. At the BAFTAs, by the way, we had Sandra Hüller also nominated for her performance in this, as well as Anatomy of a Fall.
I think it's better than Anatomy of a Fall.
I think it also is better. I think she's also stunning in this film.
She's great in this. She's fantastic.
Bit of a flex here. I got to talk to both of the lead stars of this film, by the way. Christian Friedel, who plays Rudolf Höss. Yes, I can do it with that zazz of German in there. Has a review that's coming out this week, or should be out on the channel by the time the episode goes live, where we talk about the Zone of Interest, which you should definitely go check out after the recording. After listening to the episode. I'm so deep in, hey, we had to do this another half an hour because we restarted. But yeah, I can only give this movie praise. I would love for it for the only place where I feel like it maybe has a shot is in sound. I would love for it to get it there because I feel like that's one of its strongest parts. Is just the background sound mix.
Though, but...
I think so as well. But I was already so happy that it got the nomination. And yeah, direction is great.
Here's a good one. Here's a question.
But also editing. I would put it into editing.
I was about to say it would have been editing.
I'm sorry. I thought you were gonna go into a different route. Let's edit around that. No, we're not gonna do that. But editing, there are some cuts that are like so abrupt and they feel like wrong technically, but for the movie itself, it makes so much sense. Yeah, so wrong but so right. Yeah.
I think that with editing, you've got Oppenheimer, Anatomy of a Fall as your two top contenders. It's probably going to be the year of Oppenheimer, but I think Anatomy does have a really good opportunity there.
Also greatly edited.
I reckon. Yeah. I think. Okay, hear me again. It's my opinion, Ewan. I know you might not accept it. Killers of the Flower Moon's editing is good.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of its strong points.
But I would take out the holdovers and put Zone of Interest instead.
Me too. Agreed. Which we also gonna agree on the rating, Lachlan. I mean, we already said you gave this a 5-star gun. Didn't change it. It's still a 5-star for you. For me, it was a 4.5.
Except that you changed my review.
Oh, you did change your review. Would you want to update us on your review as well?
Yeah, sure. I said on the 22nd of February, which is yesterday at time of recording, my review says, I want a Glazer MCU movie.
I feel like you explain.
Maybe we could get like an Avengers movie directed by him in 10 years.
Yeah, in 10 years, but he starts now. Just takes 10 years to make. Yeah. Oh my god. He's still casting Jonathan Majors. He's just doing the Kang Dynasty, Jesus. But 10 years too late. I mean, hey, unlikable people at this point, I guess. Is métier.
Not Jonathan Glazer. Jonathan Glazer is a lovely bloke.
No, the Major, not the Glazer.
Okay.
I'm also giving this a 5 out of 5. I'm moving it up half a star. The reservations I had, giving it 5 stars right at the get-go, which, by the way, I broke in gun. I gave Perfect Days a 5-star coming out of that theater. And I stuck with the 5 stars there. Also, for this one, it gets the bump up to a 5-star. I think it's a modern masterpiece. My updated review, Lachlan, also mentioned something. Wait, let me put it up. I said...
You want a Glazer DCEU film.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and they should battle it out. He needs to make 3 movies, much like Sam Mendes does with the Beatles. He makes a DC and an MCU film, and the third one is these two fighting it out. But I said, if I ever get to vote in BFI's sight and sound poll, The Zone of Interest is on my list.
Very good.
It is that much of a must-see film for cinephiles. And yeah, we both recommended. Luckily, if you were to pair it up with another film, what would you choose?
So, when I was thinking about my double feature, I had to think about a couple of things. The first one is obviously, what do I do when I think of a place that's surrounded and juxtaposed, right? I'm trying to think of films that have analogies in them that are like representative of a story that I enjoy.
The Room.
And I wanted it to have... Yep, sure. I can't... Okay, you threw me off, so I'm just going to say it. District 9.
I did not gas her. I did not.
God, I hate you so much. Why'd you throw me off? Yeah, my double feature's District 9. I'm not even going to roll with it.
That's a great pick. Okay.
Do you reckon that when I rewatch Perfect Days, because I gave it 4.5 stars, I will also move it to 5?
No, I think it's more my film than it is yours.
Oh, okay, of course, because there's no
no.
There's no Infinity Stones or something in it, right? Jesus.
No. It's just kind of my thing that I completely fall in love with. And I was surprised after seeing Perfect Days that you loved it as well. And it rekindled our friendship by tenfold. I was like, oh, this guy has great taste like me, which is all I aspire, my friends, just to be clones of me.
Wait till you see my Madam Web review. 5 stars.
5 stars. I mean, he got Forbius on 4K, which I think he's like chipping away at my my respect for him. Yeah. No. I would love to see it go up for you. I could also see it go down and kind of stay the same. I think it's a beautiful film. It's hard to guess. I kind of have given up on I don't know. I've given up on thinking I could call if you like something or not, which always makes it really fun. It makes these conversations interesting because we usually don't really land completely on the same page. Not that we like discuss or I don't know. There's no fighting about something. Here we are more universally just like agreeing this is a masterpiece. I don't know, man. District 9 also a phenomenal film. We can both agree on that. And we can also agree that we both have not seen my double feature pick, which is one that also observes a character more from the outside looking in over a long time. And it's after I wrote my review about BFI, mentioning BFI, Sight and Sound Poll, I was like, wait a minute, the one that's on the number 1 spot, Jean Dinman, 23, A Guide to Commerce, 1080, Bruxelles, that movie is at number 1 on there. And I've never seen it, but I feel like, in a way, it just kind of meshes and matches with the zone of interest, so that's my double feature pick. And yeah, maybe I'll even make the time to go see it at some point, but it's really long. That's my pick. Then there's a couple of new releases this week. Out on March 1st, or at least in that week. No, on March 1st, we are getting Spaceman over on Netflix. We're looking forward to this one. It premiered at the Berlinale. I didn't even look at the review so far. I don't know if they're positive or not, and I don't know if I want to look at them. We'll be talking about that, I guess, at some point, but it has chosen to go up against Dune 2. And it's not like we're not going to talk about Dune 2 next week. I don't know if we can make space for Spaceman. There's also Napoleon that has moved from its premium VOD to Apple TV Plus, so you can now stream it on that streaming service without an extra surcharge. Then out in cinemas, of course, it is time for Dune, and yeah, I just really hope this does so well at the box office. And I mean, it's not like we're gonna hate it. I feel like we're gonna love it or we are gonna adore it, but I don't know if it's gonna be lower than that. So expectations are high. I hope it can meet them, and hopefully we'll get maybe even a third one from Denis Villeneuve. And then out in Swiss theaters, perfect timing. The Zone of Interest is out, but like we said, you can also already purchase it on digital already. And then, Lachlan, for you, if you want to revisit the little red panda from Pixar that we got a couple of years ago, or last year, no, I guess it was 2022. Turning Red is getting a theatrical release, so hey, if you want to revisit that on the big screen, you can if you're down under. But that brings us to the end of the show this week. Next week, it's Dune time, and we're also gonna discuss all of Denis Villeneuve's film in bracket form, so maybe give those a respin or a spin for the first time if you want to argue in the comments below why we're so wrong and Arrival is actually the best one of all of them. Please come in prepared with your notes, class, and yeah, we'll talk to you next week. I can't wait for Dune. I'm so excited. All right, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye. We made it! And it didn't corrupt! I mean, I should probably not say that before I stop recording, but I'm going to stop recording right now.